I'm a lucky man. I have 4 kids and a beautiful wife, Kate. I live a happy life now, but what people don't know is just how much violence it took to get here. I was born in 1983. My mum, she was only 15 when she became pregnant. When I turned 2, and she'd met this person that took away the next 3-4 years of her life. What happened there was a really quick journey, an express train almost, from love and affection to abuse, daily domestic violence. She had to stay inside, she had to stay isolated. She finally got the courage to leave, and we found another place. I was asleep one night and, my mum was taking a bath. And he came in through the window and climbed into the bathtub with her, took his pants off and proceeded to rape her in the bath. And he's saying over and over again to her while he raped her, "If you want to run away from me, I'll kill you to make sure nobody else can have you." I remember trying to get in between and trying to protect my mum. I was bashed myself and told, "I'll kill you as well." And, I thought I was going to die. I guess that put us on to the next phase of our lives because while he didn't kill Mum or I in that instance, he did go on to kill someone else and went to jail. A little bit further down the track, the voices in my head kept saying to me, "You're weak, you couldn't protect your mum. You're weak, you couldn't hurt her abuser, so you're worthless." I thought, I need to become a monster because then I won't ever be in a position where I can be hurt again like I was as a kid. Started to hurt people, started to use power and control in my relationships with women. Started to become physical, push, grab, hit, doing the things that I had seen so much growing up, and when I was turning into this person, I was also turning into a person that I hated, The last offence I ever committed was the big one. I started out like any other Saturday night, out drinking, partying, and we're outside a pub and, verbal altercations soon turned into a physical altercation, and such a regular thing to me that I didn't even bat an eyelid.
I think you almost killed him.
Yeah, and yep. And at that time, I just didn't see anything wrong with that. I'd really gotten into that phase of my life where I'd gone from victim to offender. And I don't remember the act, but I woke up with cuts in my arms where I tried to hurt myself. Then when I come around in the hospital, I said, I need to stay here because I need help. And I don't know where to go. I didn't even know what a psychiatrist was at that stage. And what he said to me next stuck with me for the last 18 years. He said to me, "No, we're going to discharge you today because you don't meet our criteria for admission." And he said, "You're not mentally ill." And he said, "You're just ultra violent and hospital's not the place for you, but jail is." That was rock bottom for me. I started to think, how can I help people instead of hurt people? And I thought to myself, there's a lot of misguided kids that I was seeing around at that time. So I started to do different things. I started to coach some kids with some boxing, and I started to think maybe the violence that I'd used my whole life could be used for something positive.
They should have like a strap there, it's easier.
After that last offence, I deserved what was coming my way. When I went in for sentencing, the magistrate said to me that I can see you doing the right thing and I can see something in you, that if it's harnessed, it can change the world. And he said, but if it's left unharnessed, it'll kill someone. I'm prepared to give you another chance. I'll suspend that sentence. But if you ever come back before me again for another offence involving violence, you won't get another chance. I'll throw the book at you. I spoke to one of the guys at the gym and he'd just come out of jail. He had to see a psychologist as part of his parole. And he'd been talking about him at the gym and he'd been saying how good he was. So I got his number and I went in and I signed up for the 6 sessions I had to do. And 6 sessions turned into about 3.5 years of therapy. For the first time ever, someone sat with me and they put a hand on my shoulder and they said to me, hey, you know what happened to you when you were a kid and what you saw and the fact you couldn't save your mum. It wasn't your fault. For me, that was one of the, life-changing moments. But then what he said in the next breath was, but what you did to other people when you grew up, the way you hurt other people because of that trauma, that is your fault. And you have to own that. You have to make that right.
Do you own it?
Yeah, I didn't at the time. But as we kept working together, it was almost like he read my mind because we kept coming back to that and he'd ask me that question, same question you just asked me. Are you owning it yet? Are you owning it yet? And finally one day I said, yeah, I am. And he said, what does it look like? And I said, it looks like so much fucking remorse, so much guilt, so much regret for a wasted life. But so much hope for the future without that weight around my neck anymore. 14 years ago, I met my wife, Kate. She stuck solid with me through my healing and was the one who convinced me this story needed to be told. We were visiting my hometown about 12, 15 months ago. I knew that things had come full circle and I faced the biggest test of my life. I pulled up out the front of the supermarket, went in and got some drinks and lined up. And I looked over and I seen this guy lining up there to buy a bottle of bourbon. And he looked at the ground and he started to pay for his stuff really quickly. And he ran out of the shop and I thought, that's a piece of shit from my childhood. All that stuff that I'd worked so hard to heal, all that trauma, all that anger and hurt and pain, it just came up into my throat. And I remembered that promise that I'd made to myself as a little boy that I'd kill him if I ever got a chance to, and I thought, well, now's your chance. And so I put the things down on the counter and I started to make my way towards the door, and I looked again, and I looked at my family in the car and I thought, I'm really lucky. I had a beautiful family I never thought I deserved. I got love that I never thought I would deserve. I watched my family, and I thought, that's never, ever, ever gonna be the answer for you again. Violence is never gonna be the answer for you again.